Sturmtiger, Hitler's hopeless mortar, March 1945. 7 German tanks rolled toward the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen, the last standing bridge across the Rhine. Each one carries a weapon so massive it could demolish an entire city block with one shot, a 380-millimeter rocket launcher. Battleship-grade firepower mounted on a Tiger tank chassis. The mission is simple: destroy the bridge. The Americans have just captured it intact, and Hitler is desperate. These monsters fire round after round at the bridge, and they miss every single shot. A weapon designed to level buildings from 500 meters can't hit a 300-meter-wide bridge. This is the Sturmtiger, possibly the most powerful tank destroyer ever built, and simultaneously one of the most useless weapons of World War II. Only 19 were ever made, and the story of why Germany wasted precious resources on this catastrophic failure reveals everything about Nazi Germany's collapse. Let me show you how desperation creates disasters. February 1943. Stalingrad has just fallen. The Wehrmacht has suffered its worst defeat in history. Over 300,000 German soldiers dead or captured. But it's not just the casualties that haunt German commanders, it's how they died. Urban warfare. Fighting block by block, building by building, floor by floor. German tanks excel in open terrain, but cities turn them into death traps. Every window hides an anti-tank rifle. Every basement conceals a Soviet squad with Molotov cocktails. Buildings become fortresses, and the Wehrmacht has no quick way to demolish them. The Germans already have the Sturmpanzer IV, nicknamed Brummbär, Grizzly Bear, armed with a 150-millimeter howitzer. It works reasonably well. But here's the problem. By 1943, infantry anti-tank weapons are evolving rapidly. The Brummbär's armor won't cut it much longer. German military planners want something heavier, more protected, more devastating. They want a weapon that can erase a building with one shot. Someone has a wild idea. What if we take that naval depth charge launcher the Kriegsmarine has been developing? It's designed to hunt submarines by launching massive charges off coastal positions. The launcher fires a 380-millimeter projectile, 15 inches in diameter. For context, the main guns on Iowa-class battleships were 16 inches. This is nearly battleship-caliber firepower. The Navy agrees to share the technology. By autumn 1943, plans solidify. Mount this monster on the Tiger I chassis. The Tiger is Germany's heaviest production tank, weighing 57 tons with armor thick enough to survive urban combat. It's the only chassis that can handle the weight of a 380-millimeter launcher and the reinforced superstructure needed to protect the crew. Hitler personally sees the prototype in October 1943 at the Arras training grounds. He's impressed. He orders production to begin. 12 vehicles initially, with plans for more if they prove effective. The official designation is Sturmmerzerwagen 606/4, MIT 38 centimeters, RW61. Everyone just calls it Sturmtiger, Assault Tiger. Construction begins. Tiger hulls are pulled from the production line, sometimes brand new, sometimes battle-damaged vehicles being rebuilt. They're sent to Alket's factory in Berlin-Spandau. The entire front superstructure of the Tiger is removed and replaced with a massive fixed casemate, a box-like fighting compartment with the rocket launcher mounted directly at the front. Let's talk about what they actually built, because the Sturmtiger is engineering madness. The weapon itself is a 38-centimeter Raketenwerfer 61, a breech-loading rocket launcher. Not a gun, a rocket launcher. The projectiles are 1.5 meters long and weigh 376 kilograms. That's 830 pounds, each round. Here's the immediate problem. These things are too heavy to load manually. The entire 5-man crew working together still can't lift them. So the Germans install a small crane on the rear of the vehicle. To reload during combat, someone has to climb out, operate the crane, swing a 830-pound rocket through the loading hatch. Then the crew inside uses a loading tray with rollers to push it into the breech. The whole process takes forever. Fire rate? 2 to 3 rounds per minute under ideal conditions. In combat? Forget it. The vehicle can only carry 14 rounds total. One is loaded, One sits on the loading tray ready to go, and 12 more are stored in racks inside the cramped fighting compartment. That's your entire ammunition capacity for a mission. No resupply without that external crane. The rocket itself creates another engineering nightmare. When you fire a rocket, it generates tremendous heat and pressure. That exhaust has to go somewhere. You can't vent it into the crew compartment. That would kill everyone inside. You can't seal the barrel completely. The pressure would explode it. The solution? A ring of ventilation shafts running from breech to muzzle. The barrel has a distinctive pepper box appearance with 20 to 31 exhaust holes arranged around the muzzle. Different Sturmtigers had different numbers of vents, suggesting they were constantly trying to solve this problem. The ammunition comes in two types. The Raketensprengranat 4581 is high explosive, 125 kilograms of explosives designed to demolish buildings and fortifications. The Raketenhohlladungsgranat 4592 is a shaped charge that can theoretically penetrate 2.5 meters of reinforced concrete. Both are rocket-propelled. After leaving the barrel at relatively low velocity, the rocket motor kicks in and accelerates the projectile to about 250 meters per second. Maximum range is around 5,650 meters. But here's the crucial detail everyone missed during development. Rocket-propelled ammunition is inherently inaccurate. You're essentially firing an unguided missile with 1940s technology. No stabilization fins, no guidance system, just point and pray. The moment that rocket motor ignites, trajectory becomes unpredictable. The armor is impressive, at least. The frontal casemate is 150 millimeters thick, angled at 47 degrees from vertical. That gives an effective thickness over 200 millimeters. Sides and rear are 82 millimeters. The whole vehicle weighs 68 tons, 11 tons heavier than a standard Tiger I. It's shorter than the Tiger at 6.28 meters because it lacks the long gun barrel, and slightly lower at 2.85 meters tall. All this armor and weight comes with consequences. The Maybach HM 230 engine, 650 horsepower, struggles to push this beast. Top speed is 40 kilometers per hour on roads. Cross-country performance is abysmal. The Sturmtiger gets stuck frequently, breaks down constantly, and drinks fuel at a catastrophic rate. August 1944. The Polish Home Army launches the Warsaw Uprising against German occupation. The city erupts in urban warfare, exactly the scenario the Sturmtiger was designed for. And by pure chance, the prototype Sturmtiger is available nearby. It's rushed to Warsaw along with two more vehicles from Sturmmercer Company 1000, the first of three assault mortar companies being formed. For the first and only time in its entire service history, the Sturmtiger performs as intended. The weapon excels in this environment. Polish resistance fighters have fortified buildings throughout the city, machine gun nests in upper floors, barricades blocking streets, cellars turned into bunkers. The Sturmtiger rumbles forward, aims at a fortified building, and fires. The 125-kilogram warhead hits the structure and detonates. The entire building collapses. One shot, one building destroyed. The psychological effect is devastating. The sound alone, a massive rocket launch followed seconds later by an earth-shaking explosion, terrorizes everyone in the vicinity. Resistance fighters who withstood weeks of conventional artillery bombardment abandon positions when they see what a Sturmtiger can do. For 6 weeks, these vehicles operate almost daily in Warsaw. They're escorted by regular infantry and supported by other armor. When they encounter strong resistance, they simply obliterate the entire position. The limited ammunition capacity isn't a major issue because they can withdraw after expending their loads, reload, and return the next day. Hitler personally receives reports about the Sturmtiger's effectiveness in Warsaw. He's thrilled. He immediately orders 5 more units to be built. By September 1944, 10 Sturmtigers are completed. Another 5 follow in December. Total production will eventually reach just 19 vehicles, including the prototype. But Warsaw represents the perfect scenario. Static urban warfare where the enemy can't maneuver, targets are large and stationary, and accuracy doesn't matter because you're demolishing entire buildings. What happens when you take this weapon into any other combat scenario? December 1944. The Ardennes Offensive, the Battle of the Bulge. Germany's last major offensive operation, Hitler throws everything he has left into a desperate attempt to split Allied forces and recapture Antwerp. Two Sturmtiger companies, 1001 and 1002, are committed to the Western Front with 8 vehicles total. Things go wrong immediately. The Ardennes is not Warsaw. It's a fluid, mobile battle across forests, hills, and villages. American forces are highly mobile and well-equipped. The Germans are trying to advance rapidly, and the Sturmtiger simply cannot keep pace. The vehicles break down constantly. They get stuck in mud. They can't negotiate narrow forest roads. When they do reach combat positions, they struggle to find appropriate targets. The weapon is designed for demolishing fortified buildings, but American positions are dispersed, mobile, and temporary. Firing a 380-millimeter rocket at a few soldiers behind a stone wall is like using a sledgehammer to kill a fly, and missing. The limited ammunition capacity becomes crippling. Carry only 14 rounds into combat, and you're effectively out of the fight after 30 minutes of engagement. The external crane needed for reloading makes resupply under fire nearly impossible. Crews abandon their vehicles or retreat to safe areas to reload, taking them out of action for hours. But the Ardennes offensive fails for many reasons beyond the Sturmtiger. By March 1945, Allied forces are closing in on Germany itself, and this is when the Sturmtiger faces its most infamous moment. March 7, 1945. American forces unexpectedly capture the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen intact. It's the only standing bridge across the Rhine. If the Allies hold it, they have a direct route into Germany's industrial heartland. Hitler is apoplectic. He orders everything available thrown at that bridge. Destroy it at all costs. 2 Sturmtiger companies, 7 vehicles total, are mobilized. This should be simple. The bridge is 300 meters wide. It's sitting there, stationary, at known coordinates. The Sturmtigers have a maximum range of 5,650 meters. They position themselves and begin firing. They miss. Round after round, they fire at this massive, unmoving target, and they cannot hit it. The rocket-propelled projectiles are simply too inaccurate. The trajectory wobbles unpredictably after the motor ignites. Crosswinds affect them. The aim is approximate at best. After expending precious ammunition achieving nothing, German commanders pull the Sturmtigers back and admit defeat. Regular artillery, conventional guns with rifled barrels firing ballistic shells, proves far more effective. The lesson is brutal. The Sturmtiger's revolutionary firepower means nothing if you can't hit the target. But there's one more story from Remagen. One incident where a Sturmtiger from Sturmmercer Company 1001 does something remarkable. The vehicle is operating near Düren and Euskirchen, German towns near the bridge. The crew spots something. A group of American Sherman tanks parked in a village. The Shermans are stationary, probably refueling or performing maintenance. The crews are outside their vehicles. The Sturmtiger commander makes a decision. He maneuvers into position, aims at the village center, and fires one 380-millimeter high-explosive rocket. The projectile arcs toward the target, rocket motor burning. It hits the village. The explosion is catastrophic. The 125-kilogram warhead detonates with a blast radius that engulfs the entire Sherman position. The shock wave alone is devastating. Buildings collapse. The Shermans are blown apart or rendered inoperable. American crews are killed or wounded by the concussive force and flying debris. This is the only recorded tank-on-tank combat action by a Sturmtiger in the entire war. One shot, multiple Shermans destroyed. It demonstrates what this weapon could theoretically accomplish, the sheer destructive power of that massive warhead. But notice what had to happen for this to work. Stationary targets in a confined space at relatively close range. The instant American forces became mobile, dispersed, and alert to the threat, the Sturmtiger's effectiveness plummeted to 0. After Remagen, the remaining Sturmtigers see sporadic action in the Battle of the Reichswald and other defensive operations. They're used primarily for indirect fire support, lobbing rockets at Allied positions from a distance. They slow down Allied advances slightly, but they're not changing outcomes. By April 1945, most are captured, destroyed, or abandoned as German forces collapse. So what went wrong? How did Germany waste so many resources on a weapon this ineffective? First, the concept itself was flawed. The Sturmtiger was designed to solve a specific problem, clearing fortified urban positions in offensive operations. By the time production began in mid-1944, Germany was no longer conducting offensive operations. The Wehrmacht was defending German soil against overwhelming Allied forces. The strategic situation had fundamentally changed, but the weapon design hadn't. Second, the engineering was rushed. Development began in autumn 1943. Prototype was ready by October. Production started in early 1944. For a revolutionary weapon system, that timeline is insane. Normal tank development takes years of testing and refinement. The Sturmtiger went from concept to combat in under a year. Critical flaws, the accuracy problems, the loading difficulties, the mobility issues, were never properly addressed because there wasn't time. Third, the ammunition choice was fundamentally wrong. Rocket-propelled projectiles sound impressive, but they're terrible for precision work. A conventional gun firing ballistic shells would have been far more accurate. But then you'd need an even heavier weapon to generate the same explosive power, which would make the vehicle even more immobile. The Germans chose rocket propulsion to maximize firepower within weight constraints and sacrificed accuracy in the process. Fourth, they built the wrong chassis. The Tiger I was already obsolete by 1944. It was expensive, mechanically unreliable, and fuel-hungry. Building new Tigers or converting damaged ones into Sturmtigers diverted resources from producing Panther tanks or Tiger IIs, which were actually effective combat vehicles. Every Sturmtiger represented a Tiger that wasn't available for regular combat operations. Fifth, the doctrine didn't exist. How do you employ a Sturmtiger effectively? German commanders never figured it out. Warsaw worked because the situation was perfect. Every other deployment was improvised. Should they operate independently, in groups, supported by infantry, artillery? Nobody knew. Without clear tactical doctrine, even effective weapons become liabilities. The final analysis is damning. Germany produced 19 Sturmtigers over 16 months, from February 1944 to April 1945. Only 18 or 19 were actually completed. Sources vary. 3 survive today in museums. Their combat record, successful in one urban battle, ineffective everywhere else, one lucky shot against Shermans, total failure at Remagen. The resources consumed could have produced dozens of assault guns, tank destroyers, or conventional Tigers, any of which would have been more useful in Germany's defensive war. The Sturmtiger represents everything wrong with late-war German weapon development. It's the product of desperation, wishful thinking, and Hitler's obsession with wonder weapons that could reverse Germany's fortunes through sheer intimidation and firepower. Look at the pattern. Germany is losing. Resources are scarce. Industrial capacity is being bombed daily. Fuel is almost non-existent. Trained crews are irreplaceable. And what does the Wehrmacht do? It diverts precious Tiger chassis to build 19 vehicles carrying a weapon so inaccurate it can't hit a bridge from 500 meters. This is what happens when military decisions are driven by propaganda needs rather than tactical reality. The Sturmtiger looked terrifying. It had a massive gun. It could demolish buildings spectacularly. These qualities made it appealing to Nazi leadership, desperate to project strength and technological superiority. But weapons aren't judged by how impressive they look. They're judged by whether they help you win battles. The Sturmtiger failed that test. It was a solution to a problem Germany no longer faced, delivered too late, in too few numbers, with too many flaws, to a military that had no idea how to use it effectively. Yet it fascinates us precisely because it represents such extreme engineering, a 380mm rocket launcher on a tank chassis. The sheer audacity of the concept, combined with the spectacular failure of execution, makes it a compelling historical curiosity. It's a monument to desperate innovation meeting harsh reality. The few preserved examples in museums stand as reminders. Overwhelming firepower means nothing if you can't deliver it accurately, reliably, and in the right place at the right time. The Sturmtiger could demolish a building with one shot, when it hit. But winning wars requires hitting your targets consistently, and this monster almost never did. 3 companies were formed to operate these vehicles: Sturmtiger Compagnon 1000, 1001, and 1002. Most crews never fired their weapons in combat. Most vehicles were captured or abandoned intact as Germany collapsed. The Americans, British, and Soviets examined them with interest, noted the engineering creativity and the execution failures, and moved on. Hitler's wonder weapon that couldn't hit a bridge, a perfect metaphor for Nazi Germany's final years. Impressive on paper, catastrophic in practice, and ultimately irrelevant to the war's outcome. If this deep dive into one of World War II's most bizarre weapons grabbed your attention, that like button helps more history enthusiasts find these stories. Subscribe for more explorations of military equipment that looked incredible but performed terribly, or sometimes the opposite. I'm curious, what other obscure World War II vehicles should I investigate? The Maus super heavy tank that was too heavy to cross bridges? The Landkreuzer P-1000 Rata that was too insane to build? The Japanese submarine aircraft carriers? Drop your suggestions below. Every comment gets read, and your ideas shape future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next historical disaster.